I opened the email attachment and my stomach dropped. The performance review on my screen was brutal. Chronic tardiness. Missed deadlines. Poor communication skills. Every line felt like a punch. My hands trembled as I scrolled down to the signature line. Marcus Holloway, HR Director. But my manager Trent had sent it. The final paragraph recommended immediate probation. My phone buzzed. A text from Trent. HR wants to see you in 20 minutes. I closed my laptop and tried to breathe. 3 years of excellent work, erased in 2 pages. Something felt wrong. I'd never been late. Never missed a deadline. But there it was, signed by HR itself. I walked into the HR office expecting a disciplinary hearing. Instead, Marcus Holloway looked confused. He gestured at a printed copy of my review on his desk. "Did you receive this document?" he asked carefully. I nodded. He leaned forward, his voice dropping. "I didn't write this." My heart stopped. He pointed at the signature. "That's not even my real signature. Look at the capital H, mine loops. This one doesn't." He studied my face. "Someone forged my name on your performance review. And I need to know who." The room tilted. Trent had handed me a fake review with HR's forged signature. Marcus explained they'd received anonymous complaints before about management issues in my department. Nothing concrete. Nothing documented. Until now. "This forgery," he said, tapping the review, "is a serious legal liability. We're launching a quiet internal audit." He paused. "I need you to act completely normal. Don't confront your manager. Don't change your behavior. Just keep doing your job." I nodded slowly, my mind racing. He slid a business card across the desk. My direct line. Document everything from now on. Screenshots, emails, timestamps. Everything. I left his office in a daze. But something had shifted inside me. I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was building a case. The next morning, I walked into the office like nothing had happened. Trent was at his desk, sipping coffee. He gave me a smug little nod, clearly expecting me to be broken. I smiled back and sat down at my computer. My hands were shaking under the desk, but my face stayed calm. I opened my email and started a new folder labeled Documentation. Every email Trent had ever sent me went in there. Every project timeline. Every client approval. Every piece of proof that I'd been doing excellent work. My phone buzzed. A calendar reminder. Performance review follow-up in 2 weeks. Perfect timing. I had 2 weeks to prepare. I sent one carefully worded email to HR, copying Trent. "Thank you for the performance feedback. I'd like to request a follow-up meeting with HR to better understand the specific areas of concern and create an improvement plan." Professional. Non-defensive. Polite. But now the lie was in writing, preserved forever in the company's system. Trent replied within minutes. "Let's discuss this privately first." I didn't respond. Marcus had told me to document everything. That meant keeping HR in every conversation. Trent's attempt to pull me into a private conversation was now documented too. The trap was forming, one email at a time. He just didn't know it yet. By afternoon, Trent started working the room. I heard him in the break room, voice loud enough to carry. "Some people just can't handle constructive criticism, you know?" Laughter followed. Then quieter. I guess probation really rattled her. I stood in the hallway, just out of sight, and pulled out my phone. I opened the voice recorder app and hit record. Walked closer. He was still talking. "Between you and me, I don't think she'll last another quarter." More laughter. I saved the file, labeled it with the date and time, and emailed it to my personal account. Evidence file number 1. He had no idea I was listening. A week later, I was suddenly reassigned. My major client accounts were redistributed to other team members. Instead, I was given a vague, internal process improvement project. Translation: I'd been benched. Trent announced it in a department meeting. Melanie will be focusing on some back-end organizational work for the next few weeks. Giving her a chance to reset. People avoided eye contact. I nodded and smiled. But inside, I was relieved. Fewer eyes on me meant more time to dig. More time to build my case. And an internal project meant full access to company files and metrics. Trent had just given me the perfect cover to investigate him. I found it 3 days later. A shared drive folder I'd forgotten I had access to. Inside were performance metrics for the entire department. Quarterly reports. Sales numbers. Client feedback scores. I opened my own file. Every metric was green. Above target. Some of the highest client satisfaction scores in the region. My poor performance was a provable lie. I took screenshots of everything. Then I noticed something else. Another employee's file. Similar metrics. Also excellent. But her status was marked terminated, voluntary resignation. I recognized the name. She'd left 6 months ago. Trent's team. I saved everything and sent it to Marcus. The next day, I got a message on LinkedIn. From the woman whose file I'd found. Her name was Vanessa Cole. I heard you're still working under Trent. Be careful. My pulse quickened. I replied. Can we talk? She sent me her number. We spoke that evening. She told me everything. Trent had done the same thing to her. Fake performance reviews. Microaggressions. Isolation. She'd left rather than fight. I reported it to HR before I quit, she said quietly. I don't know if they did anything. I asked if she'd be willing to talk to them again. She paused. If it helps, yes. I'll do it. Another piece clicked into place. Marcus called me into another meeting the following week. This time, a woman from legal was there. My stomach dropped. But Marcus smiled gently. You're not in trouble. We're building a case, and we need your help. They showed me another forged performance review. Different employee. Same language. Same fake signature. The pattern was undeniable. Trent had been systematically pushing out high-performing employees for years. Mostly women. Mostly people who'd challenged him or outperformed him. We've contacted 4 former employees, the lawyer said. 3 have agreed to provide statements. I realized then. This was bigger than me. This was institutional. And they were finally ready to act. Trent cornered me after a meeting 2 days later. His smile was patronizing. Controlling. You know, I'm being very patient with you. Most managers would have let you go by now. His voice was soft, almost kind. But his eyes were cold. I forced myself to nod. I appreciate that, I said quietly. He patted my shoulder. Just keep your head down and we'll see how things go. I walked away, my jaw clenched. My hand was already pulling out my phone. I texted Marcus. Just had another intimidating interaction. Recorded. He replied immediately. Send it over. Another nail in Trent's coffin. He had no idea how close the walls were closing in. The company-wide email came on a Monday morning. As part of our commitment to workplace integrity and ethical leadership, we've launched an internal audit of managerial practices across all departments. I glanced across the room. Trent's face had gone pale. He stared at his screen, reading and rereading the message. His hand shook slightly as he picked up his coffee. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He still didn't know I was involved. Still thought he was untouchable. The audit announcement was deliberately vague. But Trent was smart enough to know what it meant. Someone had finally started asking questions. And he had a lot to hide. 2 days later, Trent sent an email to HR. I only found out because Marcus forwarded it to me with a single word, unbelievable. Trent had fabricated an entire email chain, claiming I'd lied to a client about project timelines and blamed him when things went wrong. It was detailed. Convincing. Completely fake. But I had the real email chain. I had Slack messages. I had client confirmations with timestamps. I had everything. I forwarded it all to Marcus within an hour. He replied, added to the file. Trent was digging his own grave now. Every lie was another shovel of dirt. And I was documenting every single one. Trent called in sick the next day. Then the day after that. Working from home, his out-of-office message said. But people around the office started noticing. He looked stressed during video calls. Avoided eye contact. His usual confident swagger was gone. One of my coworkers whispered, "Do you think the audit is about him?" I just shrugged. Played dumb. But I knew. Marcus had told me they were preparing formal charges. Signature forgery. Retaliation. Hostile work environment. Each one a fireable offense. Each one backed by evidence I'd helped provide. The investigation was entering its final phase. And Trent could feel it. He just didn't know how bad it was yet. My phone rang on a Thursday afternoon. Unknown number. I answered. "This is Kyle Brennan, VP of Operations." My heart skipped. I'd never spoken to anyone at that level. "I've been reviewing quarterly reports from your department," he continued. "Your client retention numbers are exceptional. Some of the best in the region." He paused. "If you ever want a change of scenery, my door's open." I thanked him, barely able to process what was happening. A VP had just personally called me, while my manager was under investigation. The message was clear. The company was protecting me now. And they wanted me to know I had options. A door had just opened. The meeting happened on a Tuesday. Trent walked into what he thought was a routine one-on-one with his own manager. Instead, he found Marcus from HR and two people from legal sitting at the table. His face went white. I wasn't there. Marcus had told me to wait in the conference room next door. "We want you close," he'd said, "but not in the room yet." So I sat alone, heart pounding, listening to muffled voices through the wall. I couldn't make out words. Just tones. Trent's voice rising. Defensive. Panicked. Then silence. Then more voices. Calm. Steady. Relentless. The confrontation I'd been building toward for weeks was happening. Without me even being in the room. 30 minutes later, Marcus came to get me. "We need you to answer a few questions," he said. I walked into the conference room. Trent was sitting across the table, arms crossed, face red. He wouldn't look at me. Marcus gestured for me to sit. The lawyer pulled out a folder. "We've reviewed all the evidence you provided. It's very thorough." She glanced at Trent. "Mr. Dawson has made several claims about your conduct. We'd like you to address them." For the next 20 minutes, I calmly refuted every lie. Showed timestamps. Pulled up emails on my phone. Cited client feedback. Trent sat there, silent, crumbling. When I finished, Marcus asked one final question. "Did you ever feel unsafe in this workplace?" I nodded. The room shifted. That was the word that changed everything. I didn't see him leave. But I heard about it. Security escorted Trent out that same afternoon. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just him walking past glass office walls with two guards, carrying a small box of personal items. His desk was cleared by end of day. His email access revoked. His name removed from the department directory. People whispered. Speculated. But HR sent a vague company-wide message, effective immediately. Trent Dawson is no longer with the company. No details. No drama. Just gone. I sat at my desk, staring at my screen, trying to process it. 3 weeks ago, I'd opened a fake review that nearly destroyed me. Now, he was gone. And I was still here. But Trent wasn't done. A week later, someone sent an anonymous email to HR accusing me of violating company data policies. The message claimed I'd accessed confidential files without authorization and shared proprietary information externally. It was detailed. Specific. Clearly written by someone with inside knowledge. But IT traced the email to a burner account registered under Trent's personal laptop IP address. He'd sent it from his home. That mistake was fatal. The company's legal team immediately escalated it. Harassment. Retaliation. Potential cybercrime. What had been an internal HR matter was now something much bigger. And Trent had just made it exponentially worse for himself. Marcus called me personally. "You're completely clear. And he's in serious trouble. The company made an example of him. Not publicly. Not with his name. But enough. They sent an all-staff email about workplace integrity and ethical leadership. It mentioned signature forgery and retaliatory conduct without naming anyone. But everyone knew. People started coming to me privately, apologizing for believing Trent's lies, sharing their own stories of his intimidation. One woman cried, telling me she'd almost quit because of him. "You did what I couldn't," she said. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired, but also relieved. Trent's LinkedIn profile disappeared a few days later. No farewell post. No new job announcement. Just gone. Erased. The professional consequences were permanent. And everyone in our industry would eventually know why. 2 weeks later, I was called into what I thought was an exit interview. I'd been considering leaving, starting fresh somewhere else. But when I walked into the conference room, Kyle Brennan was there. The VP who'd called me. He smiled. "We'd like to offer you a position on my team. Higher pay. Better title. Clean start." He slid a folder across the table. The offer was generous. More than generous. I looked at the numbers and tried not to cry. "You've shown exceptional professionalism during a very difficult situation," Kyle said. "That's the kind of person we want leading teams here." I accepted. With gratitude. With relief. And with a small, quiet sense of victory. On my last day in the old department, I was asked to help set up the new manager's office. It was Trent's old office. They'd repainted, rearranged the furniture, erased every trace of him. But when I walked in, I recognized his old desk chair. The leather one he'd always bragged about. "You can take anything you want," the facilities manager said. I pointed at the chair. "I'll take that one." She looked surprised but nodded. I rolled it down the hallway to my new office. It squeaked slightly. I smiled. It was petty, symbolic, and absolutely satisfying. Every time I sat in it, I'd remember. Not what he did to me, but what I did to stop him. My first week in the new role was surreal. Bigger office. Better team. People who actually respected my work. Kyle introduced me to senior leadership. "This is Melanie Turner, our new client strategy director." I shook hands. Smiled. Answered questions about my vision for the department. No one mentioned Trent. No one asked about the investigation. It was like that chapter had been cleanly closed. But I knew better. I knew the real story. And I knew I'd won not by yelling or fighting dirty, but by staying calm. Documenting everything. Letting the truth speak. That was the real victory. Not revenge. Just justice. Quiet. Professional. Permanent. I ran into Vanessa a few months later at a local networking event. She hugged me tight. "I heard what happened," she said. "Thank you for finishing what I couldn't." We talked for an hour. Swapped stories. Laughed about the absurdity of it all. She told me she'd found a better job. Was thriving. "You inspired me to stop running," she said. I shook my head. "You inspired me to keep fighting." We exchanged numbers. Promised to stay in touch. As I drove home that night, I realized something. This wasn't just my story. It was every woman who'd ever been gaslit. Undermined. Pushed out. And we were finally pushing back. Not with anger. With evidence. With solidarity. With the truth. I never raised my voice. Never sent a nasty email. Never stooped to his level. I just stayed calm, stayed smart, and let the truth do the work. Trent underestimated me because I didn't fight the way he expected. I didn't scream. I didn't break. I documented. I strategized. I let him hang himself with his own lies. And in the end, I didn't just survive. I won everything. The job. The respect. The peace of mind. People ask me now how I stayed so composed. The answer is simple. When you know the truth is on your side, you don't need to shout. You just need to be patient. And let karma do the rest.